Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together. All right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of our discussion on Red, White, and Royal Blue. So we're just going to dive right into where we're at in the plot of the movie. Not terribly far in. We had to have a lot of conversations about how attractive the actors are. And we left off where Prince Henry has kissed Alex. They've gone from being enemies to being friends to being potential love interests at Alex's New Year's Eve party. He is having a discussion with Nora about his feelings, whether he's conflicted about liking Prince Henry or not, whether he's attracted to men or not. We find out that he is, and that he's nervous about when the next time is that he's going to be able to see Henry, and that Henry's been ghosting him. So we cut from Alex's conversation with Nora to this big state dinner where the horniest journalist to ever journal is hitting on Alex big time. The journalist Miguel Ramos, played by actor Juan Castaño. We found out in his conversation with Nora that Alex and Miguel Ramos have made out in a hot tub, and that was the extent of their contact. And apparently Miguel has been on his ass ever since, wanting to continue that interaction. As far as like the scope of the movie, he's a journalist for like Politico, or like a freelance journalist who contributes to Politico. This character does not exist in the book. So the character of Miguel Ramos puts together two big characters from the novel. Someone from Alex's past, who was his high school friend, his first kind of like male sexual experience, and a politician named Rafael Luna, who's close with his dad, who is also an out gay Latin American man, and the first political campaign that Alex worked on. So he is kind of a role model, and Alex really admires him. And he really admires him without being able to say why. And we find out why. It's because Alex sees a lot of himself reflected in that character. Miguel Ramos takes both of those characters put together and makes them a little bit like sinister, because you could tell that his motivations are not like super pure. Like, he has two motivations. He wants a story from the son of the president, and he wants to fuck the son of the president. So anything that doesn't meet those ends is not going to land with Miguel Ramos. Even from the way that the actor carries that character, you're already very wary of him.
And he has 5 lines, but with his 5 lines, you already get the sense like, you're up to something. You're gonna do some shit.
You're simply too horny. So So at this big state dinner, he's there reporting on it, and Alex has a conversation with him. Alex is very distracted. He's just looking for Henry to walk in. Henry finally arrives, looking incredibly British and embarrassed, and Alex fully blows off this reporter and has inadvertently given him a sound bite without asking for it to be left off the record. He's just like, hey, are you guys going to win Texas? And Alex is like, yup, because he's really distracted by the sight of Henry entering the room. That's going to come back later. Alex goes up to his Secret Service agent, Amy, who, super cool. In the book, she is represented as a trans woman, and they kept that for the movie and have Amy played by a trans actor, and is really funny. I think Amy has like 3 lines, but she really kills it. Like, she's a very funny character. Alex goes up to Amy, and he's like, hey, can you get me and Prince Henry in a room alone just for like, I don't know, a few minutes? Like, we just have to talk. And she's like, well, I have to clear it with his officers, like his security. And he's like, no security. We just need to be alone. And she's like, okay, like, I can get you space in this one room, but for like 5 minutes. Otherwise, they're going to freak out. And he's like, yeah, that's fine.
And so next shot, you see Alex is waiting in the red room for Henry to come in. He's super nervous. He's like fixing up his suit. He's like making sure he looks good. He's standing in front of a portrait of Alexander Hamilton. Something they mention a lot in the book is the relationship between Alexander Hamilton and John Lawrence. So it's rumored that Alexander Hamilton had a romantic relationship with John Lawrence, who outwardly he was his best friend. And I think this gives you a little bit of foreshadowing for what's about to take place for Henry and Alex.
In addition to that foreshadowing from the portrait of Alexander Hamilton, Alex Claremont Diaz is named after Alexander Hamilton as his given name. They mention it in the book. He's Alexander for Alexander Hamilton, Gabriel for the patron saint of politicians, and Claremont Diaz as his last names. It's not something that they necessarily make a point of mentioning in the movie, but yes, it is emphasized in the book. Henry walks in, led by Amy, the Secret Service agent that works with Alex, and immediately starts apologizing. Like, my guy is nervous, feels fucking terrible. And Alex is like, shut up, shut your goddamn face, let me fucking kiss you.
And he just grabs him by the face.
Grabs his whole face.
Catches him like mid-sentence. Henry actually gets surprised and he like backs up like, hold on.
What?
At the same time, you see the confusion. Alex is like, fuck, I fucked up. And Henry's like, oh shit, is this really happening? And then they smash their faces together one more time for an intense up against the wall, leg up, like knocking portraits down.
Makeout session.
The jump this makes out of Hallmark territory, this makes its wide leap into like, okay, now we're watching a lusty young adult coming of age.
From this point on, it has earned its R rating. So they're making out, and they're making out in the way that like they're really going after each other, like, because it's like they're almost mad. Like, Alex is almost mad because it's like, you were fucking ghosting me, dude. Like, what's your problem? Don't do that to me again. And also, I want to make out with your face. And like, you get that like intensity.
Well, no, I don't think this is the only thing. I think you see this later on as well. They're still in this very like, I just hated you 2 weeks ago. But then there's this desire. And also for Alex anyway, up until this point, like he's still figuring shit out. Mm-hmm. And there's just like this intensity and like this passion and like kind of like this, like you don't know how long you can do this for either. There's just so much urgency, I feel like. And they do a really good job of portraying that.
The next note that I have is I could watch this on a loop for 12 hours. No shame. No shame in my game.
Oh, and he does like the hand through the hair.
Both of them
and
do.
Like they're grabbing each other. He's hiking his leg up like, get in there, Alex.
Get in there, buddy.
Do your thing.
I think they tried to keep this scene like quite true to the book because this happens pretty much verbatim in the book. And like they knock a candelabra off the table and like they're like bumping up against the wall. And the Secret Service agent, Amy, she opens the door and she's like, all right, you guys got like 2 minutes because we're moving everyone else around. She opens the door and immediately turns around and closes it. Like she is like, oh, fuck. The boys separate and they're both like shit. And you see them both bend at the waist because they're trying to hide the fact that they've got raging boners. Then they're like trying to like get themselves back together, tuck their shirts back in or whatever. And they like do not play it cool when they have to break apart. This is something that I find really funny because I think sometimes movies don't necessarily kind of include this part. So cut to the next scene. Now they're walking back towards like the main banquet area. They say a bunch of really bad lines back and forth to each other. It's basically Alex being like, do you still have a boner? And Henry being like Stonehenge. Didn't need that. And Alex being like, you're what? Sorry. Alex being like, your royal hardness. No one needed that. Not a single person on earth needed that. My note is literally, I'm fucking gagging, make it stop. Anyway, Henry and Alex are walking together and they step over to Alex's mother, the president of the United States, and the prime minister.
Oh no, and she tells them like, oh, I hope we won't be finding you like across the floor or some shit like that. And and so this is one of these parts where it's like the cheese. It does, why? You don't need it. And he's like, oh no, we much rather be up against walls. And then grabs his ass, question mark, in the middle of the fucking banquet hall. like, okay, maybe this is like, haha, maybe funny, but we don't need the comic relief. Like, There wasn't any need for that. You just made it corny. Like
It's so deeply unnecessary. So as Alex is leading Henry away from this conversation with the prime minister and his mother, he whispers to him, a stage whisper, genuinely. This is no whisper at all. He's like, come up to my room later, find my Secret Service agent. She'll lead you up to my room. I'm gonna do very bad things to you. Girl, what? Ew, that's such a predatory, creepy invite. Like, I hate it was in the book, and in the book it's like meant to be seductive. Whatever it is that they used for the movie, whatever audio they use for the movie, just sounds like I'm gonna skin you and wear it.
he didn't deliver it in a seductive way. It wasn't seductive enough for you?
No! It was literally like, I'm gonna do very bad things to you, like murder. Like, it just wasn't. It wasn't good. So we cut to Alex in his room. He's like kind of trying to prepare. Like he's very like nervous and a little bit jumpy. Knock on his door. It's Henry. They immediately start making out. Nice. And we see them make out. Get Alex's shirt off or whatever. And then we are left with the impression, because they don't show it explicitly, which is fine, that Henry gives Alex a blowjob.
Like, so Alex gets to his room that night. They instantly start making out and then proceeds to do nothing but receive a blowjob.
Yeah, what a straight guy move. Incredibly straight guy move to just be like, I'm going to do bad things to you. Gets a blowjob and goes to sleep. You what? Fucking ridiculous. This is so stupid.
For 5 whole seconds, all you see on screen is the Washington Monument aglow. And then next
Penis,
cut.
phallus. Erection.
What the fuck? Yeah, so next immediate scene is literally just Alex fixing up his unbuttoned shirt, and Henry kind of fixing up his suit and tie because he didn't take anything off.
Yeah, nothing.
And they both just had a great time. I mean, Henry looks like he's happy. Alex is definitely happy.
Henry's a real giver. That's what we're getting.
That's what you get from this.
Real
yes,
generous
absolutely.
man.
After they're done, it's almost like they're unpacking a little bit. You know, Alex kind of comes out and says like, okay, well, just to put it out there, I'm bi. He just needed to say it. Like, it's almost like he said it out loud for the first time, or to himself for the first time. Because you get like this pause in his face, and he says it, and then he almost like agrees with himself. And he's like, yeah, so this is it. And then he invites Henry to kind of clarify too. You know, he wants all the cards on the table. Dude, you just had my penis in your face. Let's just put it all out there. So
Not that. Not that.
And pretty much asks Henry, like, okay, and you? And Henry's like, yeah, no, I'm gay. So his actual line was, I'm as gay as a maypole. And I had to look that shit up. I'm like, a maypole? What's a maypole?
The fuck is a maypole? Thought it was like a bug.
You know those poles, like where they're like the poles with the ribbons, and you dance around the pole, and there's flowers and they're all colorful, and that's a maypole. I guess that's supposed to symbolize sexuality or a feminine energy. Maybe that's what he's trying to imply.
For the purposes of the maybe, where they were obviously very restricted on dialogue, they combine 2 instances of Henry mentioning that he's gay. So the one where he's like, gay as a maypole, happens later on in the plot as kind of like as a joke. And in this instance, where he's in the room with Alex for the first time and they've kind of like had their first like sexual experience together, he has like a moment where Alex is like, hey, so I think I should just let you know, like, I think I'm bi. I'm bi, I think. And Henry's like, okay. And in the book, Henry's like laying next to them in bed, and they're both fully undressed, or they're supposed to be fully undressed. And Henry's just like staring at Alex for like several seconds, and he's like, yeah, I'm very, very gay. Where he's just kind of like, ooh, whatever just happened here, I agree.
In the book, this is a full on, like, they fully go at it. And for Alex, that's the first time.
Yeah.
That, I mean, he's gone from where he mentions like, oh, you know, I made out with this guy one time, to like fully being to fully having a sexual encounter with with another male. So for him, that's a big step. And so in the movie, they just almost kind of brushed that off a little bit. Like they didn't really make it a point other than like Henry wants him. I think that's what you're supposed to get from this scene in the movie.
That Alex is cool.
Yeah.
He's bisexual, but Henry's into this shit.
Yeah, right.
Henry's wanted him for years. Like that's like what you're supposed to leave this with, when in reality it's mutual. Like it's quite mutual.
Yeah.
Not that it isn't mutual in the movie, but it feels like Henry's really the one kind of pursuing it, and Alex is like, oh, cool. Whereas in the book, they're both kind of like, I don't really get what's going on and I'm pissed about it, but like I'm fucking into this. And as they're having this little kind of like wrap up discussion after this has happened, Henry's just like, we have to keep it very casual because I can't afford for you to fall in love with me. First of all, this line is not in the book, okay? And why do I know this? I've read the book like 4 times. But like the line is not in the book, and anytime you see a line like this, it is the laziest way of letting you know that both characters will fall in love with each other.
I think they do that so that, just like you said, that you understand, like, this is going to be a wall to tear down. And in the scene, they're caressing each other. They're holding hands. And they use touch throughout this movie really well. They use it to let you know how vulnerable they are at a certain moment, like how they're fighting this vulnerability every once in a while. And this is one of those scenes where they're touching, they're holding hands or caressing their hands. And Alex is like, I really wouldn't mind doing this again. And then Henry's like, yeah. And then he pulls his hand away from Alex. And then he's like, but we have to keep it casual.
Nicholas Gallatin especially, I think, he kind of like, he has this openness to his face almost the entire time. Like anytime he's interacting with Alex, he has this like hope that's like apparent in his face, as he's literally saying like, we have to keep this casual. But like he's saying we have to keep this casual with his mouth, and the rest of his face is like, I am in love with you. Like, please love me. And he takes his hand away, and something that Paola calls out in her notes is that he fiddles with this signet ring that he wears on the pinky finger of his left hand, like all the time. And especially when he's very nervous or when he's feeling especially vulnerable, he will twirl and twirl and twirl this ring around his finger. So he pulls away from Alex as they're like caressing hands. They just were like sexually involved with each other, but like,
this is more intimate.
Right. I've had a one night stand where I'm not going to fucking hold your hand after. Like, I'm good. I'm going to go home now. But they're like sitting there holding each other's hands. And Alex is kind of like, his moment of vulnerability is saying, I enjoyed this and we should do it again. And then Henry's kind of like, I feel like you can almost see him register, oh, I don't want to get hurt. Like, I don't want to get hurt by this. I don't think Alex is very serious. And like pulls his hands away, fiddles with the ring, open hope on his face, but says the opposite. Keep it casual. And Alex is kind of like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
We're just having a good time.
Yeah, we're just
two
bros.
And by the way, I'm doing this thing next month. Can you come?
Yeah, literally. And like, Henry is getting ready to leave his room. And he's like, oh, well, next month I have this like charity polo match somewhere. In the book, the match is in Connecticut. In the movie, I think they might do it in England. So I think it's kind of like, I'm inviting you to England to be my guest to this match. And he's like, if you're free like a month from now over like a weekend, it's on like a Saturday, like I can have my security put you on the list or whatever. And he was like, oh, I mean, sure. Yeah, that like sounds fun. Like, okay. And he's like, yeah, okay, but casual. And Alex is like, yeah, casual. Just gonna fly to England for a booty call, but it's casual. Anyway, Henry goes to leave the room.
He's leaving the room. He stands at the door. He's fixing himself up to get out of the door. He stands at the door and just looks at my man up and down like, So we cut from Henry standing at the door, looking at Alex, like, coño. Tanta carne y el mundo con hambre.
Tanta agua y yo con sed.
Woo! And girl, same. Same. Same.
I'm dead. My note literally says, the look the prince gives Alex on his way out of the room. Girl, don't make me say something that will ruin my marriage. Don't. Because I simply cannot afford a divorce.
And then, so next scene, we cut to Henry arriving at a polo match. And real quick, it just cuts from his face to polo playing. Close up face, polo playing.
Oh, I see what you mean.
There's no panning. There's no world building. They did not try not 1 ounce to look like this guy's at a polo match. He literally just walks out of what looks like a clubhouse. These scenes were filmed completely separate. You can tell 100%. They did not try to invest at all at trying to convince you that Alex was actually at a polo match.
Dead.
However, they did some polo matching.
That's why I wanted you to talk about this, because you're ridiculous. So literally, Paola's note is, this is the most homoerotic polo match.
No,
on what I assume is a homoerotic sport.
You have men in tights, hitting balls with sticks, bouncing on horses, asses up. Like, I mean, and Nicholas Gallatin. Tanta curva y uno sin freno.
Thank goodness they've chosen to feature it at this part, because when else would we get to have such a great look at his ass?
And as you're watching this polo match go, through this polo match, they kind of create this montage going back and forth between this beautifully homoerotic polo match and Alex and Henry fully like in a shed making out. Now it's like Alex on Henry, whereas in their initial link up, it's very much Henry was giving a lot of attention to Alex. And you definitely get the impression Alex is super eager to return the favor. And the shit, and again, this movie does this shit so many times. So, they have a great time in the shed. As they're walking out, Henry asks Alex, "Are you hungry?" And Alex is like, "I could eat." Like, what is this?
It's like, these are the moments where I'm like, the script is not good. Like, it makes me really sad, because I do think that the dialogue in the book it's very current. Like, I think that's what I would call it. It feels very young millennial, old Gen Z.
Or old Gen Z. Yeah, it feels very old Gen Z.
But it grounds you, and it grounds the characters in this point in time, and like almost like in their behavior and how they relate to each other, I think, in a way that's like funny and digestible to younger people that read it now. I think they missed some opportunities in the movie to really place the setting of where in time the characters are in this alternative timeline where it's 2020 and there's no COVID. And like so much of the dialogue is just kind of like vagueness. It's just vague, horny.
And I think that's what gets me, because there's real potential in this story. And they scrap so much of the political context of like, obviously you get that, but they don't really go deep into that. They really don't go that deep into like the side characters and their family. There's not a lot of building around this world that they live in. It's really, the movie just zeroed in on them too. And then you cheapen it with these lines. And it's kind of like,
where
okay.
It almost would have been better with silence. It's almost better if the characters are just like stewing and looking at each other and like looking hot.
Yeah, like, maybe. Yeah.
In the outline, I linked to this one article that I found of an interview with the director, Matthew Lopez. And so the article is basically like discussing with him the differences between the book and the movie and what his opinions are on the differences between the books, the differences he chose, because he wrote part of the script, right? So like the differences he chose and how he chose to vary the script from book to movie. And basically, like, I would say the essential through line of his entire interview is like it's like it's very analytical. He's like, I had 2 hours, like a movie, standard length of a movie is like 2 hours, or from 90 minutes to 2 hours. He's like, I had 2 hours and I had to make however many hundreds of decisions in 2 hours to emphasize this central love story. He was like, the most important part of this story are the two main characters, how they come together and how they stay together, and everything else is superfluous. Which
Yeah, I get that.
I get that type of analysis. I just don't think it worked in practice. And I think like I tend to think that way a lot in like my work, right? Like as a designer, I'm like, what am I designing? I'm designing a sweatshirt. Okay, great. So these are the components you need for it to count as a sweatshirt. Great. Now what do I add or change on top of that? But like, I think him going so bare bones with a lot of the supporting characters and their shared experiences, I think makes a lot of the movie feel more hollow than you want it to feel as the viewer. Because yeah, you get a lot of meat from the two main characters, but even then he had to distill and combine like several experiences that they have. So as the viewer of the movie without the context of the book, you're just like, oh, they met up like 4 times and they're in love, question mark? Like,
Yeah, you don't, and in the book you realize there's
meet up
weeks, there's months between these visits.
Yeah.
And for example, which again, they act that out so well, this need and like this wanting and yearning of each other, like in the moment that they're already together, like that's why there's this passion and aggression to their encounters. It's been weeks, it's been months where they've been going back and forth through emails and texts, fantasizing to each other and opening up to each other and all of this, and you don't get any of that in the movie.
Yeah.
And
it's not even implied.
And so to kind of scrap that because of timing, but then you add in like all these cheesy kind of lines, which, okay, haha, garner a chuckle here and there, but like one or two. But it's almost like every opportunity he got to like insert like some fucking
cheesy little line.
Yeah, there's one or two where I'm like, haha, and you get a genuine good chuckle out of me. And then there's shit like this where you're like, okay.
I could
Great. Yeah. Like give me like I don't know. Like I feel like there was so much more that it could have been represented in these couple seconds that amount, that add up and could have been used for storytelling. Anyhow.
No, like the last thing I was going to say is we've already talked about how much we miss the supporting characters that we get in the book, that we get quite a lot of in the book, right? Alex's sister June, their best friend Nora, Henry's best friend Percy, like, and Henry's sister B. And we really miss any development from them or any involvement from them. Whereas in the book, they have like group chats. They're hanging out. Like they all go out together. And like you get these really nice instances where you see their lives are like, or at least Alex, seeing it from Alex's perspective, he views, his quote unquote friends, which is like his one best friend and a sister, Henry and Henry's friends, his sister and his best friend, and they're all like intertwining, like their lives are coming together, and that feels like a very big deal to him because he considers himself to be not necessarily a loner, but he has such a unique life as somebody who's involved in so much publicity, the son of the president. Like he has to be very judicious about who he spends his time around, etc. So he's become very like guarded, and they really don't take time to even hint at that in the movie.
No, he's just like this like this extra charismatic character all the time, at all times.
Yeah.
Where almost like you almost don't get depth to his character
because he's
for a story charismatic that really, even in the book, like really revolves around his point of view. You don't get that inner dialogue. You don't get that. You only get that maybe a little bit later on when he's kind of struggling with his relationship to Henry. But other than that, you don't. You understand he's this super positive, charismatic character who likes politics and is in love with Henry. That's it.
And this is another thing. Like, I feel like I'm constantly asking the movie to tell us things rather than show us. which is not the point of movies, but I think a great way to have shown the viewer that Alex's like charisma and attitude and stuff isn't necessarily his innate personality, but like something that he puts on, you know, as like
Exactly.
a shield. A way to have shown that is like have him walking into some type of press appearance. You get a brief shot of him in the doorway where he takes a deep breath, schools his face, and then walks out on stage and is like, haha, yeah, big cool guy. Like, where you have this moment where you demonstrate to the viewer, hey, he has an awareness that he has a persona to maintain, and that persona is not who he is all the time.
They put all of that weight onto Henry's character in the movie. You know, they just Alex in the movie is the I don't give a shit what anybody. And and that's who he is in the book as well, part of it. But in his inner monologue, he does care, and you get that in the book. But his outward appearance is he's confident. He doesn't give a shit what people think. He wants to live his life truly himself. And it's such a big contrast to Henry, even in the book. And I think in the movie, they just scrapped that. They scrapped Alex's insecurities to highlight he's such a stark difference from Henry.
And I think part of why they had to do that is because Alex doesn't interact as much with Nora, doesn't interact at all with June, who doesn't exist, and Henry doesn't interact at all with his best friend, Pez.
Right. So you don't see them outside of
each other.
Correct.
Yeah. Which is a bummer.
You know, they needed time to.
They needed a mini series.
This could have been a good young adult mini series.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous mini series. So in no way addressed in the movie, they are suddenly in Paris. We cut to the next scene.
They show us the Eiffel Tower and like
that's
this
how you
cute
know
little
Paris.
cobblestone street, and now they are traveling. In the book, you realize they were able to find some time. Weeks have gone by since their encounter.
They combine two different trips in the movie. In the book, the polo match and the Paris trip are separate. In the movie, they combine those into one trip. So they take some time to like walk around Paris, apparently, and they have lunch at this cafe, which looks very cute and is very innocuous because they're supposed to be playing this PR strategy that they're like besties. And they have like a cute little conversation where Alex asks Henry his official last name. Henry has 1,000 last names because he's a royal. What tickles me so much is that all of his last names are just mad libs from history of English monarchs and houses of English royalty that do not exist anymore, like the House of Hanover or like the House Stuart. So it's super funny. And Alex goes, oh, geez, like I thought Alejandro Gabriel Clermont Diaz was a mouthful.
And Henry's like, he is.
You're like, the gasp by gusp.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You're like, no, he didn't just say that.
I blushed as I was watching the fucking movie.
I was like,
oh my God. Also, yeah, not only is this man like 6'3", but he's so hot. Anyway. And then they both just smile and blush at each other. And it's the most.
They get the giggle.
The next scene after this, Alex and Henry are walking through a park talking about more personal things about themselves, right? Like, who knows about your sexuality? Does the crown know? And Henry is like, my sister knows. And I suspect that my parents know. But it's never been overt. Like, I've never formally come out to them. I think everybody in my family just suspects. My grandfather, who in the context of the movie is the king, he's like, my grandfather kind of like treats me like shit for it.
And, you know, and then Alex is like, that's fucked up.
It's fucked up that you're not allowed to like be who you want. Very American of him.
You know, and Henry's response is just like, well, you know, Prince Henry belongs to Britain. You know, and it's weird because he says Henry Fox has to belong to himself. But in the same breath, he's saying that he can't. It's almost like he states that there has to be a line between who Prince Henry is and who Henry Fox is, which is himself. That's how he separates these two identities, right? His Prince Henry side, who he has to be as Prince Henry, stifles who Henry Fox is. And I think he doesn't say that. Like, he's saying, no, I need to be these two different people. But you're seeing in his expression, but one of these people that I have to be stifles this other person.
One of the people I have to be, Prince Henry, is like significantly more visible and more important than Henry Fox.
And then Alex is like, well, can he belong to someone else? Like me?
Like me because I love you?
Oh, and he reaches for his hands and Henry pulls away. Alex is trying to reach out. Henry's kind of closed off. And he's like, no, only for a little while. Going back to what he said before, that this can only be casual.
Yes. Next scene, they are in a hotel room overlooking the Eiffel Tower. That's how you know they're in Paris. And I just listen because I'm re-listening to the audiobook of the book and I have read the book a couple times at this point. There is so much more buildup in the book because they've been intimate in that they've both gone down on each other, whatever. But there almost seems to be this kind of barrier between that type of intimacy and like sex, right? Like penetrative sex.
Why do you have to say it like that?
Because I hate saying it out loud. Okay, fine.
In this moment, right? Like Henry comes up to him and he verbally says, I think we should make love tonight. And I think at this moment, even as a viewer, you're like, oh shit, they haven't had sex.
Right.
And Alex, initially, he's like, oh yeah.
Dope.
Then he starts to get nervous. He's like, oh shit, I actually never done this before. They haven't gone all the way. And it's almost like there's this role reversal because Alex is always so confident in his skin and what he's doing. For the first time, you kind of see him like,
I have no idea what I'm doing.
And Henry's the one to step up and be like, I got you. He actually says, I went to an English boarding school, dear. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but apparently if you go to it,
that means them boys be fucking. Them boys be fucking. That's what it means.
And so it's a cute moment because you kind of see Alex in a moment of like a very vulnerable moment. And Henry's like, no, I got you. We're going to do this.
Yeah. Like, it's okay. I can sort this out.
Right. I'm going to walk you through it.
Right.
And he quite literally
does. Yeah. Alex is literally like, who does what?
Yeah, essentially he is like, okay, so
which way? And Henry's like, it's cool. Like I've done this before, I can show you. And it's very sweet because, dude, I can imagine like anyone who has had sex can relate to this moment of like, we got there. What do I do? Like, what is next?
Well, no. And you know what? Also, like, when you're in a heterosexual relationship as a teenager, as, you know, a young adult, and you're starting to explore, you know, your sexuality or having sex with your other straight partner, the shit's out there. Matter of fact, you have a health class. So here in the United States, it's standard right around 5th or 6th grade. They teach you in school, well, this is how you make babies. Yeah. And then from there, even if you're not digging up the information, like you're exposed to it so naturally that there's not a lot of mystery about what happens between a man and a woman. It's just common knowledge. So another layer of exploring a queer relationship is like, okay, how do we do this? We're all so heterosexually programmed, right? Like there's always like, who's dominant? Who plays the male role? Who plays the female role? Like in a queer relationship, that's almost eradicated. There's no female male role. This is like, what do you like to experience? And so in figuring that out, I think they do it in a very sweet and straightforward way in this scene.
I think in contrast to some of the previous scenes where they're both in a rush, more passionate, almost even like eager, they're both more subdued because I think they're both kind of like experiencing the gravity of what's happening. Like this isn't just like, oh, we're fumbling around because like you're hot and I'm hot. No, this is almost a declaration of a relationship between them. Like it feels like a much more intense step for them. And so the filmmaker, Matthew Lopez, who's a gay man, I think he took a lot of care to make it sweet. I think he took a lot of care not to make it just like, oh, hot, they're fucking.
Yes, it's definitely a big contrast from like the lusty.
Exactly. It's not lusty. It's like loving.
100%. And I think that's also like a step in their, obviously it's a step in their relationship that also symbolized like they're opening up romantically now. Like, this is an emotional step as much as it is a physical step for the both of them.
Yeah. It's a very intimate scene. It's super romantic.
It's super sweet. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful love scene. I mean, aside from them being obviously beautiful, they took so much care to show care between them. There's a softness to them here, and it really is a really nice love scene.
So Henry kind of like initiates this, right? Because he's like, I want to make love. And that ain't casual, baby. I don't know what he's thinking.
Listen, my man, this is not a casual man's face. Casual went out the fucking door as soon as you looked up into this man's eyes on your back.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Eyes. Jesus.
Again, they use touch so well. And a great way that they show the softness and how different it is from their past encounters is they've really slowed down with touch. You see like a hand go down his arm's length or caress a collarbone. Whereas there's this grabbing before. Every time it was like grabbing his neck or grabbing his hair. Now there's just soft caressing. And even while they're making love, they go for their hands. Matthew Lopez zeroes in and loves to show you their hands communicating, whether it's they're holding hands or whether it's a hand grabbing a shoulder. He just zooms into these moments that I think add tenderness.
After this truly incredibly lovely scene, they're in bed and they're having a little chat. So in the shot where we see them in bed, it's shot from above. Before they zoom in more on their figures, we catch on the nightstand condom wrappers, bottle of lube, toiletry kit, where you're kind of like demonstrating like not only was it like safe sex, but it was like something that they made an effort to like be prepared for and talk about.
Yes, I feel like they definitely made a point to do like this wide shot of them laying in bed. But it just shows like, as a person who's constantly exposed to heterosexual romances, you don't ever see a condom wrapper.
Yeah, you really
That's
don't.
just not something. It's never something that's like specifically in a scene. I mean, I guess it's unless it's like a HBO show, like where they have time to like. Yeah. I don't feel that I've ever seen a movie, or I can probably count on one hand anytime I've seen a sex scene in a movie or a show where they make it a point to show you safe sex tactics or lube or anything like that. Like, you know, passion is just this thing that kind of just happens
and no one gets pregnant.
That's it. And so the attention to detail in this scene, I think, was very cool, and I think says a lot about the director too. For him, it was important that you see like this is normal.
For him, it was important to show it without calling attention to it. Of like, it's in there. It's in there, but it's not the point, but it's in there because it's part of this process.
He wanted to inject authenticity into this scene, and he did that.
He did do that. I think he did a good job. I wish it was consistent throughout the rest of the movie. So in the next scene that they're in bed together, very tender, they're laying next to each other. Henry asks Alex if he ever wishes his family wasn't into politics. Alex kind of says the contrary. He's like, I just want to do more. Like, I want to be more impactful. I feel like I'm doing nothing. Like, I'm a sitting duck who's just the son of the president. And that, you know, he talks about his father being an immigrant and his father's family coming from Mexico and how abnormal it is in the US to see people in positions of high power who are visibly people of color, you know, people that have these stories that relate more to his father's experience, how rare that is to see in Congress, the Senate, in the White House. And to Henry, he's like, you can't really understand that because your family is literally the power. You've always been in power. That's like your birthright, right? Like, it's different for you.
No, and he doesn't know what it means to be in a place where you're felt to feel that you don't belong or that you're an outsider. Like, you're always othered. He
Yes.
doesn't know what that feels like. He is the purity of the British Empire.
Yeah.
Like, as a gay man, he may feel othered. But I think in this conversation, he's definitely talking about race and ethnicity and
Yeah.
just being, being from an immigrant family and what that means to him and what that means to his motivation to be in the political sphere. And he even, something I find sweet, and I think we can all relate, is when he says, I want to be the person my dad didn't get to see growing up. I want to be that for people coming up and now in my time. I want to be an inspiration that other people can look up to, and feel valued and feel seen. So here, they have this scene to kind of give you an understanding of why Alex does what he does, why he it's so important for him to be involved in his mother's political campaign, and that this is the life he wants. He wants to be in politics. This is how he wants to make a difference. Where I think that's a contrast to Henry's situation, where I think he would love nothing more than to remove himself from
Then to
this
be
role that
anonymous.
he and to be anonymous, right?
Yeah, for sure. We cut to the next scene where Alex is back at the White House. He gets in trouble with his mother's deputy chief of staff, Zara, because now his comment that he previously made to the political reporter saying that they intend to win Texas has been run in an article. And she's like, what the fuck were you thinking giving that comment to that journalist? And Alex is like, he took it out of context. That's not what I meant to say. And she's like, oh, yeah, because, journalists, they just take things in context. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you should have known better. And obviously, he had been distracted in that moment because of Prince Henry. Dun, dun, dun. So he has created, and we find out like a little bit earlier in the movie, in a passing scene, that he has created this like very in-depth memo on Texas and how his mom can like campaign harder in Texas, flip districts there and win. So winning Texas, you can lose so many states and win Texas and chill coast to the presidency. One of the things about this movie and this book that I've, earlier on as in our discussion, I've talked about as wish fulfillment is like anyone who's familiar with American politics, even generally, even on the surface level, knows that many states in the South, absolutely Texas, tend to go incredibly conservative, tend to vote for certain types of candidates that are not the candidate that are represented in this book and in this movie. And reading this book in 2023 is so it's like magical realism. The wish fulfillment is crazy. That's another aspect of this book that is like president wish fulfillment. So Alex gets in trouble for saying that they'll win Texas, but he has prepared this like insane memo about organizing better in Texas, about registering more voters and what the important issues are and how the congressional districts are laid out and best practices for that. He finally gets his mom's team to read this memo, and they say, hey, this is a pretty good memo. We're going to send you to Texas because we want you to organize the voter registration drive on behalf of our campaign in Texas. Cool. Then we get this like, it's kind of I think it's a pretty good montage. It was probably one of my
And this
favorite.
is happening, and and then so he goes off to Texas.
Yeah.
And this is, this is weeks. It's weeks of work. And so that Henry and Alex haven't been able to see each other, talk that much. He's busy on the presidential campaign. Obviously, Henry's busy doing monarch stuff. And here you get some emails that they send to each other back and forth, and it's kind of cute.
And you hear them in voiceover over this montage. Mm-hmm. They miss each other. It's cute. After Alex is doing this, right? Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, great. After
and
Alex,
there's a little bit in here where Alex writes to Henry, and is the first time you get a glimpse of Alex maybe second guessing himself, where he's like, am I really going to be able to do this? What if I fail?
Yeah. Of his vulnerability. After he has spent, all of these weeks in Texas registering 1 million voters, as was their goal, now it's time for the DNC in New York. DNC is a Democratic National Convention that happens before each presidential election on both parties, where they essentially choose their party's candidate officially, right? So by the time the DNC and the RNC happen prior to each general election, the campaigns have been going on for over a year. Candidates have been on the trail, especially candidates with like higher name ID, more prominence, and more money. They've been on the trail for like 14 months, 16 months. And when you have an incumbent president, the way that in the book and the movie, Alex's mom is an incumbent president, you don't necessarily have people in the convention voting against the incumbent president to be their party's candidate. So the assumption is she has already been the party's candidate the entire time, and doing the DNC is a formality where she's accepting the party's nomination, discussing her platform on TV in this convention, and trying to fire up potential voters for the general election. Alex is stressed because his mom's opponent is this awful kind of like very conservative dynastic political family guy from like the Midwest who has just been shit talking his mom and her family and her half Mexican kids and her Mexican husband all over the press. And it's been racist and shitty, and Alex is really fucking tired of it. So he's super discouraged. He's tired as hell. And he's at the hotel where he will be staying during the weekend of the DNC, which is a multi-day national convention. He's at the hotel bar, and he runs into none other than horny ass reporter.
Or he runs into him, because apparently this guy just follows him around.
God damn.
He's an Alex groupie.
He is an Alex groupie. And he goes to talk to Alex. He's like, hey, Alex, what's up? You look so good.
Looking good in that suit.
Alex is like, dude, get the fuck out of my face. You ran that fucking quote without running it by me. That was really shitty. I can't believe you ran that. It makes us look crazy with regard to Texas. And the guy's like, you never said that was supposed to be off the record. Of course I was going to run a quote that you gave me. You're the fucking president's son. And I will concede this point to the horny reporter. He is right. Alex is just mad because he got distracted and forgot to say that that was off the record. Great. Alex is like, get away from me. We're not going to continue any of the shit you want to continue. I am not down for you. Like, it's not you and me, buddy. This is not our love story. And the horny reporter's like, ew. Like, he's feeling like pretty blown off and like a little bit spurned. Who walks into the hotel bar as Alex is getting ready to leave? None other than Prince Henry, baby.
He surprises him.
I knew you would be stressed out, so I decided to come. It's very sweet because Alex is obviously like not in a super great place mentally or with this campaign. He's really missing Henry. Henry shows up and he's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. But we need to leave this fucking open ass hotel bar because the horny reporter has already fucking seen you, dude.
Or let's get your ass upstairs now because we got some shit to catch up on.
Both of those things can be true. And we see horny reporter making eyes like, what the fuck am I seeing? Why is Prince Henry here? That's bananas. And now you're like, some shit's about to go down. So they have a great night. They go up to Alex's hotel room.
They have ice cream in their robes.
They do. They like have a little cute little chit chat about like personal things. Like, have you ever used Grindr? Have you ever cooked for yourself? Have you ever done laundry? It's like very cute.
Well, they fall asleep together.
They do. Oh, which they don't intend to do.
In the movie, you definitely got the impression like maybe he wasn't supposed to fall asleep there.
Right.
However, in the book, it's a much bigger deal. This
Yeah.
is not something they do. They don't stay in each other's rooms. You know, they got to be careful. And it's funny because one of the things that Henry alludes to at the beginning is like, oh, he's like a crazy insomniac. Like, he doesn't really sleep. My man sleeps soundly asleep after Alex, so.
Sound as hell. Who knows? What a workout. And that's kind of more of a theme in the book as well. Like, they both have difficulty sleeping. That's why they talk so much, because neither of them can ever sleep. So they keep reaching out to each other like, I'm up at 3 a.m. watching Great British Bake Off. Oh, well, I'm up at 4 a.m. working on a paper. And that's why they're always so much in touch. So they don't really stay in each other's rooms. It's very, like, unintentional. Henry should have left, right? Like, after whatever stuff they did.
After the
conference they had. And he doesn't. They end up staying together in Alex's bed. They are knocked the fuck out. Zara, in an uncharacteristically medium mood where she's not being a rancid bitch, is at Alex's door at 6:45 the following morning, knocking, and she's like, "Hey, wake up. We got to be downstairs in 15 minutes. Let's go do some interviews. Like, come on, get up, sunshine. It's time to go." He wakes up to the sound of her knocking and is like, "Oh, fuck. Oh, shit, 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 shit." And needs to like immediately get Henry out of bed, hide him somewhere, decides to put him in the closet. And both of them go, "This is ironic." And then he's like trying to find a way to get dressed. He can't find any of his clothes.
Zara at this point is pissed because he hasn't come to the door.
And she can hear that he's moving around in there talking to someone and she doesn't know who. So two things. He's not ready to go the fucking day of the DNC, which is a huge deal for his mom and for the election in general. Two, there's a girl in there from Zara's perspective. Shit, what does she know? What NDA do I have to get her to sign? So she's double pissed. As she hears a bunch of rummaging and shit in there, she's like, "I have a room key. I'm fucking coming in. You absolute fucking idiot." Comes into his room. Alex is naked as the day he was born, standing in front of the door to this hotel room. We, as the viewer, get a back shot where we just see this guy's like magnificent ass and like his long, lean figure. He's so hot.
Beautiful form.
Wow. Artistic. It's like a sculpture by the gods. So she walks in, sees that he's naked as fuck, and immediately turns around and she's like, "Jesus Christ, like put on some fucking clothes." And he sans underwear, puts on a pair of pants, and she like comes in, sees that there are 2 wine glasses on a table off to the side of the room, and she goes, "Where is she?" And she is combing this room, okay? Finds a phone that was left on the nightstand. Even though it's obvious 2 people have slept in this bed, 2 people have used both nightstands on either side of the bed. The sheets are all fucking rumpled. And she's like, "Who is she? Where is she? Get her out here." And Alex is like, "It's fine. It's chill. Don't worry about it. It's fine." And she's like, "It's fine. It's the day of the DNC. And you think this is fine?" And she's like freaking out. She grabs the phone that was left on the nightstand, unknowingly grabs Prince Henry's phone. And she is looking behind the furniture. She is opening the bathroom door. She's looking in the shower. She looks under the bed. She hears a bump from inside the closet.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. Like, what? Why'd you move? What'd you drop?
And she opens the closet door, and who is in there but beautiful Prince Henry,
Coming out of the closet.
who just says, "Good morning." And Zara, when I say she's short circuits, like the actor who plays Zara deserved more, because she has a full, like, low-key panic attack.
It's really like she's short-circuited.
Yes.
Her face doesn't know what it's doing. Her head doesn't know what it's doing. She can't speak.
She is tripping. And she's just like, what? And Alex is like, "Yeah." "I've been seeing Prince Henry." And Zara's like, "Since when?" And he's like, "Since New Year's." So for anyone who does not know, the DNC happens in the summer. So this is like July. They've been seeing each other since fucking New Year's. It's been at least 6 months. Zara is pissed.
And she's like, "Who knows about this?" And they list like 6 different people.
It's too many people.
My sister,
my best friend,
the Secret Service.
the Secret Service. And there's like this one really cute moment that I love that they did this for the movie, where Prince Henry is like, "Well, Sean knows," Sean being his personal assistant, and my sister B. And Alex is like, "Oh, you told B? That's so nice. I can't wait to meet her." And it's so cute. And he's like, "Yeah, she's really excited for us." And he's like, "Oh my God, that's great." And Zara's like, "Shut up."
That is really cute, because you kind of get like, I'm talking to my family about you. Like, I'm
Yeah.
talking to the people that are close to me about you. Like, you know, it's getting serious.
And they're both clearly not they're not apprised of the severity of this situation in this moment, right? Zara gives Alex an ultimatum. "Tell your fucking mom about this shit. Do not get seen. Don't make this an issue before the fucking election. I swear to God, I'll kill you myself. Like, I'll kill you with my bare fucking hands."
I love how there's this moment where she asks him, "Would it make a difference if I told you to stop seeing him?" And like with the quickness that he's like, "No."
No, it wouldn't make a difference. I'm going to keep doing it. And that is very, very sweet. And we cut to the next scene where Alex has asked his mom, they're in the Oval, And he asks her for a private conversation. And she's like, yeah, I always have time for you. You're my son. And I find that incredibly hard to believe if she's the president, but sure.
He starts by saying, like, I got something really important to tell you, and it relates to the campaign.
Yes.
And she's like, fuck. And he's like, I've started seeing someone. And she's like,
cool.
Awesome. That's good for you.
What she does ask, which does tickle me, is she's not a Republican, is she?
Like that would be a problem.
What I'd ask my kids, okay?
And he's like, the person I'm seeing
is a he.
Because she's like, what's she like or whatever. And he's like, well, she is a he.
Yeah.
And he is Prince Henry.
She's like, Prince Henry of England? And it's like, no, bitch, the other one. What? Like,
the other England.
Yeah, the other England, the other Prince Henry. We kind of cut to them sitting on the couch together, and she's cradling him, and it's very, very sweet. It's very mother-son. And she's like, how long has this been going on? Like, how do you feel? Are you happy? Like, how's everything going? And he's like, well, it's going really well. Like, I like him a lot. And I just knew that I had to tell you because I know with the election coming up, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, B is not a silent letter in LGBTQ. Like,
yeah, she was so supportive. And this is such a vast contrast to Mom in the book. President Mom in the book.
She's supportive in a different way.
Cut and dry.
Very much.
Okay, let's talk facts. Let's talk numbers. And in the book, she literally prepares a PowerPoint presentation to talk about the ethics of it, like talking points and
signing paperwork.
President Mom in the book, she's like, okay, that's great, but this is how it affects my campaign.
Correct.
Where Mom in the movie, she's worried about him. She wants him to feel, she wants to make sure that he's happy. And it's the same line in the movie and in the book, but they have different weights. Where in the movie, she asks him, do you feel forever about him? In the movie, it comes out like as a very motherly question, like, do you feel forever about him? Trying to gauge where he's at in the relationship.
Yeah. Whereas
Whereas in the book, it's more like, look, if you're going to do this shit, you better be serious. You can't be out here just meeting people. Like in the book, he's 21, 22.
And he's like, I don't know. I'm a child.
Where in the movie, it's almost like it should have been reversed. It's somebody who's a young adult. Yeah, you can't expect this to be forever. He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
Whereas she's much warmer in accepting the news and talking through it and making sure that he's heard and he's comfortable in coming out to her. Because that's a big step. Whereas in the book, she was just like, all right, well, you about to fuck my shit up.
Another thing that she emphasizes in the movie, which is kind of funny, is like, she was like, well, I know when I gave you the sex talk, I really focused on heterosexual partnering, which was really like my mistake. I shouldn't have assumed. So do you know everything you need to know? PrEP, condoms, Truvada, if you're bottoming, if you're doing that. Like,
yeah, it was really cute. It was cute and funny.
Yes.
And he's like, all right, this
like,
I'm officially, this is over. I'm not getting into these details with you.
Very cool. Thanks. I'm done with this now. It's very, very
Because I would totally be the mom to be like, all right, so how was it? How did it go?
I would just be the mom to be like, let's go to the doctor together. How about we do that? Let's do that now.
Oh, no, I want to know the fun stuff. Give me the
That's
juice.
up to the kid.
Sure. I'm going to ask, though. But, like, it's up to you if you share, but I'll be like, yo.
You.
So how was it?
It's like the question stands, whether you answer or not. So in the next scene, now that we've gotten through this like very sweet coming out moment between Alex and his mom, we hear Alex invite Henry to his parents' summer home in Texas with Nora and Percy as like a cute, fun, carefree getaway weekend. We cut over to Alex picking up Henry and Percy from the airport. They're riding in a top-down Jeep. It's incredibly Texas.
Yo, quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In the book, doesn't she take him off of the campaign when she finds out?
Yes. She fires him.
Isn't that fucking crazy and fucked up?
I mean, it's ruthless. Well, because she's basically like, this is a conflict of interest.
Yeah, in the book, after she's done with her PowerPoint presentation, she fully just fires him from the campaign because he's involved with the Prince of England.
Yeah.
He's like not allowed to participate in the campaign, no longer allowed to do any PR, nothing. And he kind of goes through this phase where he's like got nothing to do, stuck in the house. And then they have these emails going back and forth between Henry and Alex, and they get a bit more intimate in these emails. It's very sweet. I'm upset that they left the emails out of the movie. And comes this opportunity where they have this trip, and that's when Alex invites Henry, and it's like the first time they've seen each other in months.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's more like, oh, there's this thing we're doing, come along. There's no ceremony or around it, or it's not because of anything.
Yes, it doesn't feel as big as it does in the book for him to ask Henry to join. And in the book, Henry joins solo. I don't think Henry comes with Percy. But in the movie, it's kind of like, you come, bring a friend. Like, it's like him and Percy come. Because in the movie, what they're doing is they're combining 2 trips. So the lake house is one trip, and there's another trip that Percy's there, June, Nora, Beatrice, and they go and do like karaoke, and it's like a really, really fun friend trip.
It makes sense to mix it into one trip for the movie.
It does. So this is one of the instances where I was like, to cut down on time, have them do karaoke while they're in Texas. Great. So obviously in the movie, we condense these events, and they're staying at Alex's family's lake house. They're riding top down in a Jeep. It's very, very Texan. The way that this is like shot, I'm not obsessed with. They like put 2 separate shots up on the screen side by side. One side is like a camera pointing at the passenger side of the Jeep, and the other side is the camera pointing at the driver's side of the Jeep, and it's just kind of like it's not fun to look at. And they like get to this beach house. Alex introduces Henry to his dad. So it doesn't introduce him as, this is my boyfriend, but just introduces him, and Alex's dad clocks like, oh, okay, you're at my house now. This is something. They don't really talk about it. They're having a great fucking time. They're like laying on hammocks. They're reading. They're playing volleyball. They're swimming in the lake, making margaritas. It's like a super fun weekend. And they go to karaoke where they drink many, many shots. And we get this really funny jump cut where they're giving Prince Henry a shot, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to do karaoke. No fucking way. And in the next scene, he's doing karaoke. He's singing Don't Stop Me Now by fucking Queen. Incredible.
Which is definitely on my personal karaoke list.
Correct. That is my go-to karaoke song, is Don't Stop Me Now. And he's doing his little karaoke, and it's cute. Nicholas Galitzine, he's beautiful like art. He's so nice to look at. And I think Nicholas Galitzine sings a little bit in real life.
I believe he's a musician in real life.
That's so great. So I love that for him. Prince Henry's not supposed to be a good singer. Like in the book, it's like he's terrible at singing, but he does karaoke anyway. And so I think they play into that a little bit in this scene, because he's not supposed to be amazing at everything. God damn it, Nicholas Galitzine, go take a nap. And we get a close-up of Alex as he's watching Henry singing. He's googly-eyed in love. Seems to become very aware of how definitive his feelings on Prince Henry are, as he's watching, quoted from my notes, fine-ass Prince Henry and his perfect goddamn teeth. So the next morning, we get a scene where Alex is talking to his dad. He has just woken up. He's super fucking hungover. They had too good a night. Also, Alex and Henry are sharing a fucking room, but fine. And he goes to talk to his dad, and he doesn't even necessarily bring up on his own, like, I'm seeing Henry. It's that his dad is like, so Henry's pretty cool. Which is like very sweet. Like, he's like,
I think his dad knows. I don't think
his dad
it's
absolutely
implied that
knows.
his dad didn't know.
So he has told his mom directly and hasn't told his dad directly. So I think this is supposed to be him directly telling his dad. And he's like, Henry's cool. And Alex is like, yeah, he's really cool. Like, he's like a really nice guy. And you could tell by how he's talking about him. It's very soft. Like, he really likes this person. And his dad is like, he's not my favorite person you've ever brought home, but like, yeah, he's a pretty nice guy. Like, I'll take it. And Alex looks at him for a second and is like, what? His dad's like, yeah, I've got eyes. Like, I'm not an idiot. You guys are together. He's a nice guy. And Alex is like, oh, I thought we were going to have like a Catholic moment about this or something. And his dad is like, I'm the reason that there are gender neutral bathrooms in Austin. Like, shut up. This is like a crazy risk, but I want you to be happy. Like, your mother and I were a crazy risk. And like, look at us. Look at how that turned out. So like, you just have to jump and hope it's not a cliff. And it's like, why? So you can hit the ground and it hurts? I don't know. Okay. So
Take a leap of faith.
take a leap of faith. A note that I made is that his dad's really nice and supportive without being over the top. It's very progressive Latin dad. I personally think that our father would have been this way if any of us had been gay. And I think that because I suspect my parents thought I was gay for a very long time. So I think they got a little used to it and they were like, we can be cool about this when we learn for sure. Now Alex feels pretty like uninhibited, right? Because movie Alex has not been fired from his campaign job. Movie Alex is not necessarily super afraid of like if this information comes out, only that it doesn't come out prior to the election, which is a few months away. So movie Alex is like, I'm straight chilling as long as this comes out after November. We're cool, baby. Henry is not on that wavelength. Alex is now very comfortable. They're having a little chat on this dock in the middle of the lake. He tells Henry, after the election, like, we can, like, hang out anywhere all the time. It'll be so cool. We can, like, hold hands and stuff in public. Henry's face just fucking freezes.
Leading to the moment, Alex is coming up for a swim and they, like, lay together.
It's cute. He, like, kisses his arm. Like, he does, like, this little kiss on his arm.
Listen, these actors, I don't know if it's the actors. I don't know if it was in the script, but Nicholas Galitzine and Taylor Zagar Perez have this natural, amazing chemistry. Like, he comes up from a swim, he lays next to him. Henry's character leans over, kisses him on the arm. They touch hands. It's almost like they fall so naturally into their role. It really sells you this story that they're together.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I enjoy about this movie.
Same. And I think that has a lot to do with the direction. That's like a big tick in favor of the direction from the viewer's perspective. They're sitting on this dock. They're having like a very cute moment that you see just how comfortable they are with each other. And they're kind of like existing out in this open space, which they never really get to do. And Alex is just kind of like starting to go into this admission of love where he's just like, we can like hang out and like, next summer we can do this. And that's kind of far in the future, my guy. Like next summer we can come back. We can come back by ourselves. We can hang out. We can go to Austin. And he's just like, and my mom will be reelected and it won't matter.
Right. He's communicating this idealized future to Henry. And you start to see the shift in Henry's face right away.
Yeah.
He starts to, again, letting go. He sits up facing away. You start seeing the walls go up. He gets up facing away from Alex. And his expression is panic. It's fear. And I feel like it's almost a little anger. Almost like, how can you be so oblivious? He's almost like, yeah, don't you know? Like, we've talked about this before.
Alex is like so consumed by this little daydream idea. And he's positioned behind Henry. So like as Henry comes up and like sits up, Alex is positioned behind him so he can't see his face. This is very clever direction. I was very into how they filmed this. So he's not looking at his face as he's just like, it'll be so awesome when we like hang out together in public and like kiss and stuff. And Henry's face is like, ah. Alex is like, wouldn't that be so sick? Wouldn't that be so great? Anyway, I just really feel like I'm falling in love with you. Or that's what he would have said.
Right before he would have said it,
Henry tumbles into the water. He does a full body roll and lands himself in the water. And we get a little shot of him underwater, just still. Not trying to swim, not trying to come up for air. He's just still.
I love this shot because it's almost symbolizes how he's feeling. He's in over his head. He's in love. He has these feelings for Alex, especially if you've read the book. By now, he just hasn't expressed it.
Yeah.
So it's like he's immersed in love, but he can't express it. It's almost like he can't breathe love. And he's drowned by this role and his need to conform.
And I do really like the direction kind of this whole scene. One thing I'm going to say, just to take it away from deep stuff, the length of Alex's swim shorts, honey, that is a 3.5-inch, 4-inch inseam. His legs go on for miles, okay? Like,
legs for days, my guy.
Dude, those swim shorts, they break international laws. Absolutely. They're so short.
They're illegal in some countries.
Him standing up and existing in those shorts, illegal in some countries. So now that we're both in horny jail, let's continue. Let's continue with this episode. So Alex is clearly like super caught off guard by Henry just jumping into the water. It breaks this conversation.
And the next scene is Alex walking into the room and Henry's asleep, quote unquote, or pretending to be
but
asleep.
just ignoring him. The next scene after that is Henry fully buttoned up, back in his British Prince Steez double-breasted suitcase, and he just leaves in the middle of the night, looks at Alex left in the bed, and vamos.
You're upset for both of them.
Henry flies back to the UK, goes to have a deep conversation with his sister, Princess B, who has a dump truck ass. She's like a hot white girl.
They're standing facing each other,
They show her
right?
from the side.
And it's a side shot. And it's like, my girl's got a shelf.
Dude, and it's like, where'd that come from? Where'd they do that at? Not in England. He's trying to have kind of a deep conversation with her because she asks him, like, hey, how's Alex? How's everything with Alex? And he's like, I've decided to end it. And she's like, what do you mean you've decided to end it? And he's like, I just can't. Like, he just wanted more than what I could give, and I just can't. And this scenario doesn't super happen in the book just because you don't really get glimpses of Henry's perspective. You really stay with Alex and Alex's perspective. But his sister fucking goofs it. She's just like, cheer up. Everything will be fine. And Henry's like, no, you dumb bitch. Like, everything's not going to be fine. I'm going to remain gay. I'm still in love with this fucking man. God damn our family. It's such an unsatisfying conversation that it makes me wonder why they included it in the movie at all, especially if they were being so militant about what to include and what not to include. I thought this scene was superfluous. It doesn't contribute to the building of his relationship with his sister.
Just that he's opening up to her.
And that she fucking goofs it.
I think it's not meant for her character development. So I think this scene was meant more not for you to see his sister, but more for you to kind of see where he's at mentally. And so you're supposed to see his mindset at this moment where it's pretty much like, no, this can't go on because this is going to affect my position and our family. They talk about his mom, they talk about his grandpa and like their role. Do they know? Do they not know? The mom, you find out through this interaction, is absent essentially from her kids' lives. Here you're understanding like he's thinking about everybody else and how this is going to affect his elders and his family. And what does it matter if I love him?
It's not going to change what I do.
It's not going to change the course of this relationship.
The next scene that we get to is a montage of Alex trying to get in touch with Henry. The texts appear on the screen. Henry does not answer him. Alex calls him. Henry doesn't respond. We see Henry receiving the messages and choosing not to respond to them. And we see Henry's sister giving him eyes as he keeps ignoring his phone and his phone keeps going off. Cut to Alex in his bedroom with Nora. His eyes are red. He's lost. He has no idea what to do. He's just like, why is he avoiding me? Like, why won't he talk to me? Why is he doing this? And Nora's like she's like, you have enough miles. Get on a plane and go to fucking London.
Go get your man or get your answer. One or the other. But stop
Exactly.
fucking talking around.
Like, let's stop doing this. I'm tired. Next, we cut to the palace. It's Henry getting ready for bed. He's in bed reading a book. He's in a robe.
Something I noticed in this cut is the drastic difference between Alex's room. It's like super modern. Mm-hmm. He has, these cool tone colors. And then they cut to Henry's room and it's like a 65-year-old's room. It's like there's a 75-year-old lady that sleeps on that bed.
And it's supposed to reflect how much Henry does not fit into palace life. How much he sticks out from like the expectations of him.
Well, and also you see the contrast between modern liberal lifestyle versus a more conservative traditional lifestyle.
Yes.
Or family.
Absolutely. And so Prince Henry's getting ready for bed. He is alerted by like an aide or someone that works in the palace. Your Royal Highness, Mr. Alex Claremont Diaz is downstairs. He says he will not go away until you speak to him. Basically, like, we've been trying to fucking make him go away and he fucking won't. Fix it.
Not leave. And
Henry's like, what the fuck? Shit. Goes out. Alex is standing there soaking wet. He's standing in the door of the palace. Henry is on the landing of like a staircase. He's looking down and Alex is like, really, dude? Really? Like, I'm fucking here. Can you fucking talk to me? Jesus Christ. He's getting loud and he's getting annoyed. And Henry's like, shut the fuck up and like come upstairs. God damn it.
Like, he literally just invites him up so he won't start a scandal.
In the middle of the palace.
Yelling in the palace.
And they end up having this huge argument where Alex is basically like, what the fuck was that? Like, I was telling you how I felt. You fucking leave. You won't talk to me. You're ghosting me. Like, is this how you're breaking up with me? This is so fucking stupid. And Henry's pretty much like, I don't want this life. The life that you intend to have, like, you want to live in the public eye. You want to be a politician. Like, I don't want that for myself because I never chose it. You're choosing it. And like, you can't blame me for that. Like, you can't tell me what I am allowed to want. And he has this one line where he's like, I can love you and I cannot want that life. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's almost like this is one of the only places where Henry's allowed to exercise his agency. And he's doing that. He's like, yeah. I don't want more publicity, more scrutiny. I don't want it. What I wrote in my notes is that Nicholas Galitzine, he is acting. He is out here. He is giving speeches. He is teary-eyed. He's crying. Taylor Zakar Perez is fine. He's doing just fine.
No, he's pissed. You see the anger. Taylor's definitely, yes, he feels like a lover scorned.
Yes.
And he's definitely like, if this is fucking over, like, I at least deserve to know why, and I at least deserve for you to fucking tell me in my face. Yeah. Like, don't just ghost me.
Don't ghost me. Like, that's wild.
After Henry's done saying what he feels, Alex is pretty much like, all right, so you want this to be over? Tell me to leave. But I'm not leaving until you tell me you don't want me, you don't love me, and you want me to leave. It was very Queen Charlotte of him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it totally was. It totally was.
Do you love me?
Leave. No.
And then in the book, Henry's answer is grabbing Alex and pushing him up against the wall. Full makeout, make love, and then they just lay for like 24 hours. Yeah. And that's kind of the way he gives his answer. Yeah. Like, okay. Because he's not going to tell him he doesn't love him. He's not going to tell him to exit stage left. He wants him in his life. And when he saw himself having to make that decision to him in his face, he couldn't do it because it's not what he wants.
I would say, like, Alex has a little bit more of, like, he has a little bit more of a straightforward response to Henry, which is pretty much like, this is what it is. Like, you'll never be just some guy. You literally, it is impossible for you to ever be just some guy. You were born into this family. Like, that's showbiz, baby. This is your life. I'm choosing it, but guess what? I don't get to be some guy either. My mom was the fucking president. Like, both of us are kind of doing this. Why would I choose unhappiness in the name of, like, having a private life when I don't get to have a private life anyway? So why would I not, like, kind of want to be with you? And that's a little bit more where he seems to be coming from in the book, I would say. I'm paraphrasing a lot. But what ends up happening in this scene is Alex is like, tell me to leave. And Henry says, no, of course. Like, I'm not going to tell you to leave, but I do want to show you something. And they leave the palace and Henry grabs like some random key. They're both just in hoodies and jeans. And they end up at the Victoria and Albert Museum in one of the sculpture halls. Gorgeous, like, incredible sculptures, gorgeous, incredible museum. If anyone has the opportunity to go to the V&A, if you haven't been, do, because it's an incredible museum. It's so beautiful. It's like moonlit and like intimate, and they're the only people there. And we hear in voiceover how Henry's father used to bring him to this museum so that they could be there in private without people looking at them, and that now, to kind of replicate that feeling, he goes at night because he can never sleep, right? He's an insomniac. So he goes at night, and he always dreamed of bringing someone he loved there and, you know, dancing with them at night alone between all of the statues. And as he's musing on this out loud, Alex pulls out his phone, starts playing a song. Henry turns around and looks at him, and he kind of like, I thought this was very cute. He kind of like holds out his arms and is like, all right, baby, we're going to dance. And it's very cute. And of course, it's that fucking song. I can't help falling in love with you.
Yeah, I like this scene. It is really beautiful. Um, and I feel like, and they're walking through this section of the museum where there's all of these masculine statues. They're all these figures of men's bodies, busts.
It's very Elizabeth Bennet in the Pemberley Sculpture Gallery.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
almost like, they're circulating these statues and really looking at these figures.
It's unguarded admiration.
Unguarded admiration. Thank you. And I think that that's one of the things Henry expresses in the book of why he loved visiting this museum and why it was such a special place for him, because it was a place where he can go and be the spectator and kind of take in these figures without judgment. How he fantasized of being able to visit and roam that museum with a significant other, and that he knew he was never going to be able to really do that out in the open with somebody he genuinely loved. So that's why this thing is so special. It's really sweet.
It's a sweet one. As they're getting ready to dance, as Henry's approaching Alex, Alex looks at Henry with something like hunger. And you know what, ladies? If he's hungry, I'm a buffet. We're out here. Let's eat.
Bitch.
So this is just amusing of my own. I do wonder who else they considered for these roles. That information is not on IMDb. It sometimes is, but it's currently not. So
I read that Matthew Lopez was set on Nicholas Gallatin.
Yeah, this role was like written for him.
Yes. And
not literally, but it feels like
an
it was.
Amazing job. And then Taylor Zakar Perez came in later. Mm-hmm. And I think they definitely wanted to be authentic to the character that was written. And like, I don't know how you can look at Taylor Zakar Perez and it doesn't just click. And I think that's what it was. And they were like, we're going to just make this work. And I heard that early on in production, they did the chemistry read like through a Zoom meeting.
Jesus.
They weren't able, I guess.
This went into production summer 22. So it went into production filming June of 22, which means that it was probably in pre-pro like March of 22.
And apparently they both had like really busy schedules.
Yeah.
But Matthew Lopez was very set on having them play Henry and Alex. And I thought it was an amazing choice. Like, the reason this movie is good is because of these two male actors.
If this movie is good, it would be because of the male actors.
The reason this movie is watchable is because of these two male actors.
There it is. I absolutely agree.
I mean, the man even has the eyelashes.
Stop it.
He has... Nobody who had read the book and had like pictured their Henry and their Alex, I don't think have any complaints. Nobody has any like, oh, this is not my Henry. No. This is not my Alex. Nah, he's your Alex now because
he's all of our Alex. This is not like Hunger Games, you know, when we saw PETA and we were like, really? Like, it's not that. It's like, oh, this makes sense.
For sure.
So as they're dancing and they talk a little bit about the history and of where they're at and the monarchy and stuff. And Alex is like, history, huh? I bet we could make some. And that refers to him using that line in the book in an email. And I think that particular line, as a girl who reads many, many fan fictions, that's me. That line seems to have captured like the imagination of the readership of this novel of like, history, huh? I bet we could make some. Like, people seem to have really gravitated towards that line, so they had to find a way to make it fit into the movie, and I think they did a good job of it.
They did, because as the reader who had context, you're like, oh, they said the thing.
Yeah.
But even as somebody who hasn't read the book and you're just watching the movie, you still understand the gravity of what that line means, right? They're embarking. So I think at this point you understand, like, all right, Henry has accepted this challenge and he needs time to embark on this idea that there's a possibility he might be able to come out and live and and be able to live in an uncloseted relationship. And you see that in the next upcoming scenes where he's kind of just asking him, like, just give me time. Just give me time, we're gonna work this out.
The following morning, they wake up spooning. It's fucking adorable. I'm crying.
I'm crying.
I'm crying. Henry takes Alex over to a private plane airstrip so that Alex can get back to the US. He charters him a private plane, and he gives Alex his signet ring that is on his left-hand pinky finger. In turn, Alex removes a chain that he wears that has his house key on it from his family home in Austin, Texas. He takes his chain off, gives Henry his chain. Them kind of swapping these tokens of who they are is, you could view it almost with the gravity of like engagement rings. Like they are swapping these visible but discreet pieces of each other to carry around when they're not physically together, which is very sweet.
This is almost like a declaration. Like, this is a promise
Wait for me.
So yeah, it's almost like they're declaring to each other, like, I'm gonna hold you with me. Mm-hmm. And
it's very cute.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Henry's wearing Alex's hoodie here, which is so cute.
It's cute. It's
so adorable.
They're very similar sizes, so that makes sense. Like if they had them swap clothes.
They really are. They're like eye to eye.
Yeah. I think Taylor Zaccar Perez might have like an inch on Nicholas Galitzine, maybe. The next scene that we get to after we see Alex leave on this private plane. Oh shit, and let me just mention this. Alex wants to like kiss Henry as they're like on the airstrip and he's getting ready to get on this plane, and Henry kind of like backs away and is just kind of like, give me time. Alex decides to give him a hug, and they hug. It's like the most passionate hug they could give each other. Like, even if you're a person, a paparazzi or something, and you're watching this and you're like, oh, I guess they're friends, I guess they hug, I would not leave that being like, oh, they're friendly. No, I'd be like, damn, they fucking. So big intense hug. The next morning, or what appears to be the next morning to the viewer, because it is literally the immediate next scene, we learn of a huge email leak between Alex and Henry's emails that they've been sending each other for the last almost year, 9 months or 10 months. Buckingham Palace has confiscated all of Henry's electronics. They're basically keeping him sequestered inside the palace. Alex is at the White House. We're viewing this scene in the movie from Henry's perspective. So his sister's the one who tells him, all of your emails have been leaked. I'm so sorry. Like, we don't know how this happened. And Buckingham Palace and the White House will not allow the boys to talk to each other. We get, now from Alex's perspective, as he's watching the news on his laptop, that horny political reporter is absolutely the one who leaked the emails, which is fucked up.
As soon as he saw them at that hotel,
he went
to work.
Yeah, he was digging. So he leaks the emails. They show him getting interviewed on like Joy Ann Reid's, who's an actual MSNBC anchor. So I love she is one of 3 MSNBC anchors that they show in this movie. They show Joy Ann Reid, I think they show Mika Brzezinski, and they show Rachel Maddow, which I love. I fucking love Rachel Maddow. So very fucking cool. And that's actually where the rest of the budget went. So after this scene where we see this news reporting about horny political reporter leaking these emails, Alex delivers this incredible speech in the White House press office, like the White House press room. So he has the seal of the United States behind him. He's at the podium by himself, and he delivers this speech that is essentially about agency in the process of coming out, being in love, having your relationships on your own terms, whether or not you live in the public eye, and, you know, regardless of like the type of family that you have or like who you're surrounded by, that anyone who is queer or is going through the process of coming out should be able to do that on their own timeline as they wish. No one should ever be outed by the press. And it's a very encouraging and like beautiful speech that I'm pretty sure the director wrote himself. Like, I think like that speech in the movie, I think, is like very, very attributed to the director. So a note that I added after this is release the 3-hour movie. Apparently there's like a little bit of fan service where the director made a comment where he was like, you know, I only had so much time in which this movie could fit. If it was up to me, I'd be releasing like a 3-hour version of this movie. And all of the fans are like, release the 3-hour movie. And if you go on Instagram and you look under like all of the comments on the posts about Red, White, and Royal Blue, it's like, release the 3-hour movie. Let us see it.
And there's a ton of like deleted scenes out there.
They're so, well, dude, because one of the things that really bums me out about the fact that we don't get DVDs anymore is that you don't get this like repository for deleted scenes the way you used to. It really is at the mercy of the streamers, whether they want you to see any of this type of shit. And they never do.
Annoying.
And it's super annoying. And so they've posted 2 or 3 deleted scenes from this movie on like YouTube. Like the official Amazon account has posted a couple of clips. And they've also posted a blooper reel, which I love the most. And the deleted scenes are like, you can understand why they were cut, but also it would have been really nice to have them. So in the movie's storyline, this happens a week before the election, which is fucking insane. And Alex, at some point, you know, they're airing his speech on TV. He's watching it with Zara, his mom's deputy chief of he's watching it with Zara, his mom's deputy chief of staff. And he's so mopey. And he's just like, Henry would be doing this. I think if Henry saw my speech, he would be doing this. And like, I wish I knew what he was doing because I really miss him. And Zara's like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
like,
she starts by saying that she's proud of him, which is a big step for Zara.
Big step for Zara. And she's just like, I'm so tired. Like, I am proud of you. That was a really good speech. Huh? I'm so tired of seeing how mopey and lovesick you are. And so she goes and grabs a phone from inside her desk, like a secret phone, tells Alex to shut up. And she gets whoever she calls on this phone. She's like, I know I said we wouldn't use this line for like work reasons, but I need to get Alex on a fucking plane to London to see Henry, because if these 2 lovesick homosexuals don't see each other, I'm gonna kill him with my bare hands. And Alex is like, who the fuck are you talking to? And Zara is basically like, listen, like, she's still on the phone, and she's like, if you don't help me with this, you're never gonna see this hot body ever again. Alex is like, what the hell? And that's how we find out that Zara is dating Sean, Prince Henry's assistant.
Beautiful, by the way.
Oh, he's hot. Yeah. He's like super hot. They really were not trying to hire anyone mediocre for this movie, you know?
Just beautiful people all around.
Beautiful people. So literally, like, the next shot that we get is Alex running into Kensington Palace. Kensington being where Prince Henry lives, and running into Kensington Palace up the same staircase that we saw when he basically stormed the palace to demand that Prince Henry talk to him. And he runs up the staircase. Henry meets him halfway, and they like hug and collapse onto the stairs because Henry is fucking struggling.
Oh, that's like a awe moment. You see that and you're like, oh man, like, you, up until that moment, they were really just trying to keep it together. Yeah. And then as soon as they were in each other's arms, they just collapse.
Yeah.
And something you went right over is Zara, when Zara calls to speak to Sean, she asks Sean to put Henry on the phone for Alex.
Thank you for putting that.
Because at that, they don't have their phones. Yeah. They don't have any communication. So Sean gives his phone to Henry, and Alex is on the other line. And the first thing he says is, hey, baby. And like, Henry melts again.
So cute.
Nicholas Galatine does such great face acting because the way he just melts into his own body when he hears him say that. And up until this point, as a viewer, you're like, oh, I guess that's a big deal that he called him baby, because you don't hear it any other time.
Yeah.
But in the book, you know it's a big deal because they talk about that like back and forth a little bit. But you still get that impression that was like, it was like you gave him a bit of a life force.
Yes. The next line that I have is, this movie makes fan fiction make sense to me. Um Alex arrives.
Why does it make you why does it make fan fiction make sense?
I'm like, put them in every dimension. Put them on every show. Put them in
And
every storyline. I want to see them do everything, and if fan fiction is how I get that, then fan fiction is how I get that. Like, put them in absolutely everything. Why is that so hard? Everything all the time. So I don't even know if these actors are like friends. I hope they are, because I love it when actors are friends while they're working on a project, but I don't know if they are. So Alex is at Kensington Palace with Henry. They're kind of sequestered. Like, they're at the palace together for like what seems to be a few days. And they play piano together for a second. Like, they're sitting next to each other on the piano, still playing, and they have like a very sweet little moment where we get them just like right next to each other, just trying to like unwind as much as they can, where they get called into a meeting with the king. Now we are in this like great big hall where they're meeting with the king. Henry's brother Philip is there, so Philip is the one who's like more in line to become king. His sister Beatrice is there, Princess B, and he brings Alex with him, and they've both gotten like dressed, like they're both wearing suits. They're sitting down waiting for the king to arrive. The king arrives, and it is Stephen fucking Fry. Stephen Fry, legend. Also gay in real life, so I love that they have him playing this role. He enters, everyone stands up to greet him. The note that I have is, Stephen Fry appears and suddenly makes this movie a real movie. Like, suddenly everything gets better, like the camera work and the lighting. They were like, oh, this guy has too much prestige, we have to make the movie better.
For an instant, just for a little while.
One instant. So he enters, they're talking to him. Everyone except for B and obviously Henry are kind of a dick to Alex, because they're just like, shut the fuck up, stop fucking talking, no one wants your opinions, you shouldn't even be here, like, I'm annoyed that you're even here, you American bitch. And Alex just has to sit there and like take it. And the king pours himself a drink, and he decides that he wants to pretend that the emails were completely fake. He wants to pretend that everything was planted, that the leaks were planted, that it was some political enemy trying to make the monarchy look bad, and they fabricated all of the emails. It is so beyond that. Like, it's so beyond fabricating the emails. But
yeah, you know, just a imperialist power making shit up to
just
cover
a genocidal monarchy.
Just making shit up to cover up their ass.
And Henry's essentially like, no, I don't want to pretend this is made up. It's not. It's my fucking life. And like, this is a person that I'm in love with. If you read the emails, you would know that. And the king is basically like, no, I read the emails. I know you guys are in love, even though it's vulgar and your lifestyle choices are disgusting. No, he doesn't say that. But
I mean, he heavily implies that that's his opinion.
Yeah, he implies it. Henry is, now that he's kind of speaking up for himself, he's speaking his mind in front of the king, which I imagine is very scary, even when you are related. He reaches for his signet ring that used to live on his pinky finger on his left hand. Alex now has it on, and he's currently the one spinning it around his finger. So that's like a fun kind of transference of this quality. We flash over to Philip. Philip is also twirling his own signet ring around his pinky finger. And Philip is kind of like on the side of the king, where he's like, this is just like some stupid mad infatuation. You guys are gonna get over it. Like, just leave each other alone. Find a nice girl to marry, Henry. Like, even though this has come out, someone will definitely marry you. Like, you know, just relax. And Henry is like, this isn't like, a mad infatuation.
You'll be fine. Just live an inauthentic life.
Be really closeted forever. And Henry's like, Philip, you bitch, shut up. Like, this isn't a mad infatuation. You're such a dumbass and no one fucking likes you. And the king kind of cuts Alex down because Alex tries to like stand up for Henry because he's getting very frustrated. He's like, shut up. No one asked you. Then we see like a royal like footman or a royal officer.
You know, there's this moment though before that happens.
Go for it.
Where Alex is like, so I don't deserve to be happy? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And, that's when the king and Philip are both like, this isn't about being happy.
And this also isn't about you.
This isn't about you.
Yeah.
And Stephen Fry does this amazing, he's Stephen Fry. He turns around and they do this shot of him, turns around from everyone and just leans on his desk. You can tell he's feeling for his grandson. Like, he has this moment where he's like, he feels for his grandson and he closes his eyes and he's almost like upset for him too. So you kind of get, and I guess that's why you cast him for this short amount of time. That's why you cast him. So you see the complexity of the feelings he's feeling for this person that he loves, and that he's pretty much telling him like, fuck your happiness. Like, your happiness can't happen because this isn't what we're about.
It's too inconvenient for us, for you to be happy.
Right. And then this is when somebody comes in to give him news, and B's looking at something on her phone. You sense like there's something going on
that they're not telling the people in the room.
Right. And then he tries to dismiss the meeting. All right, everybody go to your places and wait until,
wait for further instruction.
Wait for further instructions. Exactly. And they're like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And that's when they look outside and they see that people have been gathering in support of Prince Henry and Alex. You're seeing pride demonstrations. You're seeing LGBTQ plus gatherings. Like,
so what we heard at the top of the movie is like, Prince Henry, the prince of people's hearts. Everyone in England loves Henry. They think he's the bee's knees. And it doesn't hurt that he's hot as fuck. So everyone wants him to be happy. They're like, he seems like a nice guy and he looks like that. Bet. Like, hopefully he's a happy guy. Then they see that like all of these emails have dropped. The palace is issuing these like very weird, vague statements. No one has seen Henry in public in like a week or 2 weeks. So now the public is just kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Like, just let him be happy. Who is he hurting? Nobody. Just like let him do his thing. So it's supposed to be that a bunch of these kind of spontaneous demonstrations pop up. People make posters of them all around England, even in parts of the US, but mostly in England. And everybody's like, just let him be happy. People are gay. It's fine. So they're in the palace still. Alex and Henry are like, what's going on outside? Why is everyone being so weird? What's going on in the front of Buckingham Palace? Well, what's going on in the front is a big ass demonstration. We hear, as the viewer, chanting and shouting from outside. But because this movie's budget was $17, the shot that we get is Alex and Henry looking out one of the windows of the palace. And very bad CGI reflection of a big crowd standing outside Buckingham Palace. Alex and Henry open up these French doors. They step outside and they wave to no one because there's no one there. It's all green screen.
I know we get on the movie because it didn't have a great budget, but the studio really did put a lot of trust in this first-time director to do an adaptation of a first-time writer.
I feel like it's less about them being a first-time author because the book was a smash. Like, the book sold money.
Right.
So I think maybe their trepidation was more with the first-time director.
Right.
Which I understand. And especially someone who had gone from directing theater to directing film, which, again, they don't necessarily translate one for one. From that perspective, yes, I get it. Do I think they use the entire budget wisely? No. Do I think that the direction was like, oh, amazing, spot on? No. But do I want him to make more things? Absolutely. Do I want to watch the things that he makes in the future? Absolutely. Let him make more movies. Let him make all of the movies. Let the actors who are in this be in tons more shit. On that end, I'm like, I'm glad that they gave him this project. They gave him something to work with, because they wanted that authenticity of a gay man, a gay Latin American man directing this movie. I fucking love that.
I think it made a difference for sure. I think it made a difference in how you tell the story and the attention you put on specific lines or specific scenes. I think him being a queer Latin American man brought in an authentic perspective on how that would play out. And I think that's their payoff.
we leave this incredibly awkward scene where Alex and Henry are waving at absolutely no one but a green screen. And we cut to election night. Henry is in the kind of like hotel office suite where the Claremont campaign is awaiting the results of the election, which is very, very sweet. He came to support his man. I love that for him. And things are really fucking tense because their revelations and their email leak happened literally a week or two before, less than 2 weeks prior to the election. So it really does feel like if they lose this election, it will be Alex's fault, or it will be the fault of this email leak, and he can't carry the weight of that. The numbers are really fucking close. We find out as they're getting in results from different states that it really comes down to Texas. Claremont has lost several Midwestern states that apparently she had previously won. And without those states, she needs one state with a fuck ton of electoral college votes just to make it to 270. In the midst of all of this, Henry and Alex are interacting. They're very cute. Again, Alex is tense. He's freaking out. Henry pulls him aside for a second and he goes, "You haven't even noticed my tie. I wore this yellow tie because I read that yellow roses were a thing in Texas."
It's cute. It's cute because they also go back to like their tie comment at the beginning where they're building their friendship.
Alex is like, "I'm so glad you're here." They have this like precious little hug. As they're having this precious little hug, there's like a scuffle in the hallway. Tons of people are running over to the TV. Alex and Henry are like, "Holy shit, something must have happened." What happened? Claremont wins Texas and flips Texas blue.
Thanks to Alex and his involvement in the campaign.
His Texas file, his voter drive.
100%.
Yeah.
I'd support Alex.
You're such a mess.
Where do I vote?
They win. It's amazing. Everyone's fucking hype and excited and happy. Claremont goes out onto the stage to accept her electoral win and goes out with her family. Henry is standing right next to Alex because that's his man, that's his boyfriend, and they're all on stage waving again to no one because it is a green screen. There aren't even any extras. There's no one in this fucking audience and it is so uncomfortable. But they've won the election. Everyone can take a deep breath. This is so fucking exciting. After we hear Claremont's acceptance, cut to the next scene. It is quiet, super subdued suburban Texas. Alex and Henry are two figures on like city bikes, biking down the street. Alex takes Henry to his childhood home, the home that can be unlocked by the key that Alex constantly wears around his neck, takes him to his childhood home to show him around, which is so cute. They have a little bit...
It is cute.
It's cute. They have a little silly banter as they enter the house, and it feels very coupley and it's adorable. And the movie wraps up. That's where the movie ends. And you know what? I fucking loved it.
It was enjoyable to watch. I went into the movie with a very critical eye. It honestly, for a R rating, doesn't start off as an adult movie. It feels very PG for the first 30 minutes. And it's almost like the quality of the production felt very like made for TV original.
Yes, I agree.
It wasn't until you started seeing the chemistry between the actors where now you're invested in their story. And it's more about you're following them through the progression of their love story and what that means to them, what that means to their roles and their countries. And that's what gives the movie the depth. That was enjoyable to watch their story develop and grow and watch their growth as characters. But at times, because of that focus in their love story, I feel like a bit of depth outside of that romance was sacrificed.
I agree.
Again, it was a nice political escapist romance.
As if anything to do with politics is ever escapist.
Right. I mean, I guess they did it by making shit up. So it worked.
They did it by just doing a fairy tale.
Pretty much.
Big agree.
I think that the fundamental theme of the movie and the book definitely did show through, which is their journey to accepting who they are and living their life authentically.
Inside or outside of the public eye.
Both.
Yeah, and that queer people deserve to take up space, no matter, what part of society they represent. They are there, and they're always there. They have always been there, whether we know it or not.
And again, I'll say it again. One of the things I missed in the movie is how they go back through historical figures over time. And this is not a new, like, in the conversation about the age of the monarchy and how conservative and traditional it is because of how old it is.
Yeah.
So is this love story.
Yeah.
This is a tale as old as time, and they make a point to bring that up in the book through love letters between people who had to live closeted their whole lives to be able to be accepted by society. Mm-hmm. And okay, one, yes, is liberating that in this movie and now in our time, like, you're able to live in your personal truth.
More so than before. Not
more
fully.
so than before. But it's heartbreaking that, you know, this is not a new thing. Like, you always hear a lot of conservative conversations like, oh, you know, all of a sudden, like, oh, gender neutral bathrooms. Like, my guy, this is not a new thing. This is just...
Now you can see it. The difference is that fewer people are hiding these aspects of their identities. It's not that they haven't been there. And I think the misconception is, oh, well, now everyone's just gay. It's like, no, bitch. People have been gay for eternity. It's about different systems of society imposing rules on them that hid that. And a lot of those rules have broken down or are becoming less prominent. People are also making those choices of, yeah, my family was going to kick me out because I was gay. So they did. I came out and they kicked me out, and I found my community anyway. And I found people who would accept me anyway. And I think people being more visible is so important and so much of what this book is discussing and is based on.
Mm-hmm. So guys, that's Red, White, and Royal Blue. I hope you truly appreciated this retelling. Thank you for listening. Usually we go through our wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys up top. Let us know, whether it's in the comments of the streaming platform or on social media. Let us know what your wrap up would be. Would you pick the book or the movie? Will your significant other watch this and enjoy this with you? And do you think they stay together?
Ooh.
Pick one of those two. Let us know what you guys think. But Nadhya, you tell me, book or movie?
Book.
Book for me too.
I mean, I love looking at these men. Don't fucking get me wrong. And I am glad this movie exists, but book.
Yes, book for me, for the depth of the characters, and their love story builds so beautifully in the book through writing.
Yes.
And I love that. But this movie is a nice watch, for sure.
It's a little palate cleanser. It's sweet. Even though the stakes are supposed to be quite high, they don't feel high. Will your husband or significant other watch this with you?
I think it's a too sappy for him. Again, because there's such a big focus on their love story.
Yeah.
And there are lines they throw out there that I just
so
make
cheesy.
Me cringe.
You mean the AI lines?
Yeah. Like, I feel that had they had more time to build this political world and build the depth of the characters around them, had they had the opportunity to make this like a political queer romance, I think we could have enjoyed this movie / show together.
Because that's really what the book was. It was a queer romance in this backdrop of politics.
And like the complexities of that, which is interesting.
And we haven't even covered everything that you miss. We've obviously done a lot of comparison between the book and the movie, but there are entire plot points that we have left out.
Because it's not the focus of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. On a scale of 1 to ardently admire, how do you feel about this movie?
Oh, I love this movie. It doesn't need to be good for me to love it. I'm at like an 8.
I think that's it. I think I'd give it an 8.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm staying at 8.
Listen, okay, I'm going to have to split it. Okay.
Let's go.
From 0 to minute 29 and 30 seconds, I don't know if that's the actual time, I'm going to give it a 4.
Ooh.
From 29 and 30 seconds on through the rest of the movie, I will give it a 7. An 8. No, I will give it an 8.
So it's an average 6.
It's an average 6, but I will watch this 6 over and over.
Dude, I mean, listen, I love a bad movie. No one will tell you otherwise. All of my friends know this about me. I think it's confusing when someone's like, I love bad movies, because you're kind of like, oh, you like movies that are like made and written poorly and acted poorly and are stupid in their themes. No, 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 no. I love a low budget movie. I love something that was like made by a new filmmaker. I think it's just different ways of absorbing culture and different ways of honing your own taste. Like, I know that there are movies that I can sit there and kind of mindlessly watch. And I know that there are movies that I'm obsessed with that are fucking intense and so well written and so well filmed. And like looking at them is like looking at art. There's a spectrum there.
And sometimes some of those movies I can only watch once or twice.
Sometimes they're so intense. They're so intense, you're not going to revisit them. Like, this is the type of movie that I can revisit. I'm going to sit there and giggle like a little girl. I'm going to blush. I'm going to cover up my face. I'm going to kick my little feet. It's so cute. Like, I can totally watch this movie.
It is very cute. Yeah, I'm a solid. It's an 8.
It's an 8 for me.
Cute.
I don't need it to be great. I can't wait to see what Matthew Lopez releases next. Literally, I will watch anything with Taylor Zakar Perez in it. I decided. And I will watch fucking anything with Nicholas Galitzine. So put them in stuff.
I am glad to finally hear you admit that. It's very refreshing to hear Nadhya embrace Nicholas Galitzine, because when I brought this shit up to her, she's like, no fucking way, he's too pretty. And I'm like, yo, but it's the way they present him.
He really is very pretty. Like, that's what I mean. He's Timothée Chalamet prettier. It's like I'm looking at a sculpture, not a person.
You know what it is? He's pretty, but he's got like man size. He's
because he's tall and broad.
He's got the broad shoulders.
Sure.
So he doesn't present like pretty and dainty. He's like pretty and strong. And I think he has like that perfect balance of pretty and strong that make him perfect for these queer roles. Like, I think this is like his 3rd or 4th queer movie. He does such a good job with nuance.
He's good face. He has good face. Big fan. He seems lovely. Paola had a real phase after Purple Hearts with Nicholas Galitzine. And in Purple Hearts, like, his character kind of sucks. And so when I watched it, I was like, I'm really medium. I will say, him as an actor, he needs to be in everything funny, because the bloopers for Red, White, and Royal Blue, he is fucking hysterical. And he was in Bottoms, a movie that I told you should watch because it's ridiculous and it's so funny. And he was hilarious. Paola, he was like one of my favorite parts of Bottoms.
I've seen clips and it's pretty funny.
Oh my God. He says absurd shit, delivers it perfectly. His American accent is pretty good. He's so funny. I need to see him in way more comedies that would not necessarily cast somebody that pretty to play a lead.
Well, we're about to see him in more stuff. We're about to see him he's got a limited series coming out opposite to Julianne Moore. And he has a movie coming out, another book adaptation opposite Anne Hathaway. So I'm excited to see him in those productions. Oh, Naj.
Yes.
So do they stay together?
I think so. After the movie, I think they're at an age where it makes sense for them to stay together, mid to late 20s. At least for a few years. Maybe not like ever, but I think they stay together.
Right.
In the book, I'm like, forever? You're 22, baby.
They're young.
But like the difference between 22 and 26 is like, we all know. It's vast.
I think the book and the movie, even with the age, especially because they emphasize, are you forever about him? They emphasize that so much in the book that I can definitely see that that's their goal, is to be together for a long time. Like, barring life issues and like shit coming up that you can't deal with, I think they would stay together.
Yeah, it helps that they're just obscenely hot. Yeah, those are our thoughts. Too many.
Yeah.
Too many if I can say that, on Red, White, and Royal Blue.
So that was our retelling of Red, White, and Royal Blue. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking about it and thirsting after Taylor Zakar Perez and Nicholas Galitzine. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, please leave a review anywhere you get your podcasts. Come and find us on Instagram and TikTok at Sisflix Podcast. Shoot us an email at sisflixpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think. If you have suggestions or movie requests for us to cover in the future,